Hi everyone, welcome back to Class 101. Bryce Coe here, and today's lesson is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to focus on getting a little bit more practice with human anatomy. So for materials, I'll be using the Kuretake Extra Fine Felt Pen and drawing on the mixed media pad. So for today's class, we're just going to be looking at photos from Pinterest and trying to fit our understanding of the human anatomy into them so that we can understand them as 3D objects as opposed to, copying the details of a 2D picture. All right, so for our first example here, we have a volleyball character. And I'm just going to start going for it, starting with the head and seeing this as a 3D shape where the front plane is kind of shown by those eyebrows, side plane defined by the ear. And because of the angle of these two planes, that means we also get a bit of a look at the underplane here on his chin there. So just always something to keep in mind, that is one of the shapes that we're seeing. And just a reminder that today's class is not about drawing a really hyper-realistic or even like a great drawing, but just a way to practice our understanding of the anatomy and shapes that make up a human. So one of the landmarks I like to use is that collarbone. Since this is a male, he's got a stronger shoulder there, helping to define that top box, or that top plane of the chest box. And I'm going to go straight for the arms here because of the overlap that we see in the reference, indicating the shoulder muscle there. He's got a very strong one. And then going on to the bicep, which connects us to the elbow here. And we haven't quite gotten a chance to draw the elbow from this angle yet, but it's kind of got like a large notch of the bone sticking out, not muscle, but that indication there helps to kind of flesh out our 3D understanding of that shape. And then with the forearm, just like we did previously, just kind of a curved hump at the top to show that muscle. That leads us into the wrist and then the plane of the top of the hand box. So here is the top plane, that box. A little bit of those fingers kind of popping up around it, that thumb, which is connected to here, but we don't quite see it in this angle. Now moving on to this other side here, that shoulder curve goes into bicep, and that bicep from this angle is like that cylinder shape, but kind of a little bit of foreshortening coming at us as it goes into the hand, top plane of that hand, side plane with the fingers. Thumb connected to that top plane, or the side plane of the hand. Difficult to know which plane I'm referring to because of the orientation of the hand. There we go for the arms. I'm actually going to render this chest box first because it's slightly in front. I am kind of making out that he's got the two larger chest muscles here. He's obviously wearing a shirt, but those kind of defining the top half of his chest box, and then the abs and ribs here defining the side plane. So the end of the chest box for a clothed figure with a shirt like this is kind of nice because it just basically ends where the shirt ends. So this right here is where the hip box starts and where the chest box ends. It's much more flat on a male character. And now moving from the hip box to those legs. So a cross contour going along the leg there to kind of reveal its cylinder shape, as well as kind of like wow, look how buff that guy is, like kind of those little lumps to like show all those muscles that we don't know what they are. Just indicating them a little bit with our line quality being a little bit more loose and with that curvature. So the knee braces here are really helpful to help indicate where the knee is, very similar to the knee pads on the armored characters. The center line of the figure overall is going to help us to draw this second leg here, which is kind of covered by this front leg. Knowing that this is the center means that we're just going to kind of mirror this same kind of cylinder for the leg over here, but that we just have to kind of imagine that cylinder on the other side of that leg. Okay. And the socks are a nice indicator as well of us transitioning from the calf muscles and the lower part of the leg into the ankle box. And the shoes are great because they also show the side plane of the foot really clearly, with the fact that they only have designs for shoes on the sides of the foot, because the top is usually reserved for all those laces that they have to have. Not too worried about the actual design. And now for this back leg, using our understanding of this lower calf as just being a cylinder with kind of a larger curve on one side, to just translate that same shape over here. Socks going into the ankle box, defining a side plane for the shoe. Okay, and that is how I'm fitting the anatomy that we went over in the previous class into a photo, so that we can kind of move from our initial, kind of photo breakdown where we saw a human as like a series of boxes into a series of shapes that have kind of subtleties to them with the muscle curves and whatnot, but still mostly as simple shapes, and as ones that we can maneuver and manipulate however we like. So for our next example, I'm going to use another kind of athlete, but now a female figure. Okay, so starting with the orientation of the head, I always like to start with those eyebrows to define the front plane. And we see very, very little of the side plane of her face, but knowing that it's there and that we can see a tiny bit of the ear on this side, but that we can't as much on this side, helps us to know that she's actually, I kind of have the eyebrows slightly wrong. Her face is maybe a little bit more angled this way. So I can kind of manipulate the eyebrows a little bit to rotate that, indicating the side plane here more strongly to compensate. And now we can kind of feel a little bit that the face is angled this way. One of the other things you can do is like kind of use the nose to point the head in that direction. Not too worried about details of the face today though, so let's just move on. So her chest box, and I'm gonna kind of finish off the head here, but her chest box is angled to the right. You can see that because you can see a lot of the side plane of the box there. And because that's the thing that I see most clearly, that's what I'm going to start with. You can kind of see the side of the breast there. That's kind of going to also help my understanding of what the shapes are. The lighting happens to really light up the front plane there of the chest, as well as those kind of cross contours of the tight-fitting material. So that is the chest. This waist area here is kind of a more flat connective part for me that will connect us down to the top of the hips here. And her hip box is this shape here, but it's got a larger butt kind of like wrapping around to the leg. So the box I'm seeing is something like that, but connecting it to the bottom of the leg from here to here. So I'm going to start by drawing the cylinder I see for the thigh, and then connecting this over to here. So I think it's most helpful to see that box shape, because if you ever want to like manipulate this around, knowing that that's what's kind of like the underlying structure, that's like what the bones are, kind of just will allow you to do more than just copy this line from there to there. Very similar issue as far as not being able to see this back leg because of the overlap of this leg. But let's just finish off this first leg then. Okay, so she doesn't have the very helpful knee brace here. So instead we kind of just have to understand that the point at which the knee bends is the knee, obviously. And using this transition, using this space to transition from the thigh to the calf as this change in angle. Being aware of something that's really matter of fact like that is still really crucial, so that you can know where to stop drawing the thigh and how to manipulate it if you want to ever change the angle or pick a different pose. So she's wearing skates, so not as much clarity as well on the ankle as far as the photo goes, but having our understanding that that's where the ankle is what will help us out with knowing that the side plane of the foot is more of a box, or that the foot is more of a box shape than this cylindrical leg. Okay, so now going back over here, the reference shows that the leg is pretty straight on. I'm imagining a cylinder that we drew for the thigh over here, just behind. And you can see I drew this cross contour because I just can't help myself to help indicate the knee. I do that often just because I am seeing those shapes, and drawing the shape or drawing a line to help me see the shape is one of the ways that will help orient some of the other things that I draw. Okay, so she's got her skates, something like that. I'm not going to worry about the bottom part of the skate for today. And now up to her arms and her shoulders. So her shoulder, this shoulder here is a very prominent shape, and it's kind of angled upwards. So just rotating this guy to face more towards the ceiling. And that shoulder muscle being a little bit separate from that tricep, bicep here. Looks like we might touch his chest. So ending here at the elbow, she kind of has her shirt there going just past it. But knowing that this is the elbow, and then being able to do a cross contour along the forearm still helps me orient at what point in the arm I'm at. Kind of slimming down the forearm because the hump is right here into the wrist. She's got a cool hand pose there. It's kind of like she looks like she's got 4 fingers because I can't quite see the middle finger, I think. But all the same, I'm going to start with the top plane of the hand. And here you can clearly see this is the top plane, and then this is that secondary plane that is part of the thumb. So I really like that clarity. Sorry that it's on top of this, but this is just practice. Okay, so indicating these finger planes here. Just like the photo, I'm going to kind of just leave that middle finger a bit more ambiguous. And now on to the other side. So she's got the same shoulder muscle obviously on both sides of her body, but this one is obscured. But knowing that it's this shape, that's just getting kind of overlapped a little bit by the rest of her body. Doing a curve, a gentle curve on the underside of the arm, and maybe a more intense one to show the bicep. The bicep is usually kind of like a more intense curve compared to the tricep. So that's just one of the rules I think is helpful to drawing the arm. I don't have like a really strong understanding of the actual muscles underneath, just knowing that those are the ways I like to simplify it. Okay, and so now we are here at her palm, and I can't really make out exactly what angle her hand is making. Actually, she's got like a lot of hair covering it up, like this. But I'm thinking that we're seeing the palm side of the hand, and in this case, this would be kind of like the pinky, this tissue here. I said I wouldn't touch the hair, but since I did it on that side, can't help it. I'll give them both some goofy eyeballs. Very, very happy folks. Okay, so that is another example of how I'm fitting my understanding of human anatomy on top of a 2D photo. The fact that we can kind of place these things means that we're also able to manipulate them a bit better. For example, if we like this photo and want to maybe use the top half as a reference for a drawing, but don't want her legs to be like this, then, you know, the fact that we understand the shapes means that we could just make her sitting down. You know, we could redraw those legs at a different angle. and maybe say that, oh, she's sitting down, but her feet are barely touching the floor, but maybe the balls of her feet are. Seeing that hip box as a shape that can help orient what the legs are doing. And then just moving these pieces around means we could be more flexible with how we draw, not having to match photos exactly. Feels really weird to just draw these legs, so I'll kind of finish off what else you could do. Yeah, so maybe we just happen to like the head here, and maybe like a very similar angle. But that we, wanted her to be looking out this way. Not that big of a deal to manipulate the pieces that we can understand more easily. So she could still be touching her hair. Maybe she's like getting it out of her face. But maybe we want to have her, I don't know, holding a book or something. So drawing a book here. Top plane of the book. Side plane of the book, which is just a box. Two kind of wavy boxes here. Putting the top plane of the hand under it, and just putting the fingers in kind of a spread position to support that box shape. Thumb with thumb tissue sticking out of the side plane of that box. Not super accurate, but maybe good enough to finesse. And drawing this same muscle, but aimed downward for the shoulder, connecting the tricep to the elbow, which connects to the hand. And this is kind of maybe just a demo of what the goal is, to have this understanding, because it gives us this flexibility to do what we want with a drawing using our imagination, as opposed to just drawing the flat 2D understanding of a reference. Okay. And I think that pretty much wraps it up for today's lesson. Just wanted to give you guys some more practice with how we can apply our understanding of human anatomy to being able to understand and draw a reference to our own liking. And so I hope that was helpful. All right, so that concludes the lecture portion for today's class. Now let's move on to your mission, which is to draw a human figure of the type that you plan to include in your final illustration. So are you drawing a male or a female? Are they kind of a specific body type, like skinny, fleshy, or muscular? And what's their age? Drawing an older person versus a younger person can be pretty different. So when you draw this research, just try to find a figure that matches that body type roughly. It doesn't need to be the exact character that you plan on drawing for the final, but the type of character, the type of body will be what you want to get some practice with. Okay, so that pretty much concludes today's lesson. To recap, we did some more anatomy practice together on drawing a figure in various poses. And in the next class, we'll be moving on to the face. So looking forward to seeing you then. See ya.